Hello and welcome to the Waloom podcast. Waloom stands for Women Living Under Muslim Laws and is a transnational network of women who hold different backgrounds but share a common belief that women and minority groups have the right to individual and collective autonomy within Muslim countries and communities. This podcast aims to provide a channel of communication and representation as we work together towards the realisation of gender justice, equality and human rights for all those marginalised, particularly women and minority groups. So thank you for tuning in to the Waloom podcast. Our first podcast guest is Hilal Işık. Hilal is a Berlin-based scholar and holds master degrees in human rights law from Istanbul Bilgi University and in European studies from European University via Adriana. Her work spans human rights, migration and asylum, feminist activism, data feminism, and masculinities-based issues. Hilal joined Waloom in 2020 and as part of her fellowship here, wrote her first book, Rebel with Rhythm, Shatter with Words, which focuses on Muslim female rappers who not only use rap music as a tool for activism, but courageously occupy space that is largely uncharted territory to represent and tell their own stories. Hilal, I honestly can't explain how excited I am to start our Waloom podcast series with you as our first guest. We've worked on this idea for a while. How is it only happening now?
Yes, finally.
So your book, Rebel with Rhythm, Shatter with Words, it's really something. It's essentially about Muslim women rappers, something I'd never thought about until I attended one of your seminars.
Mm-hmm.
But before we talk more about your book in a bit more detail, I'd like us to explore a bit of your story. Who is Hilal and how did you become so interested in women rappers within a Muslim context?
Mm-hmm. I was born and raised in Turkey as a migrant family's second child, only daughter, in a secular but Muslim majority Turkey. I finished my second 2 bachelors and my first master's in Turkey and came to Germany in 2016. Since then, I have been living here, and I can say since 2009, I have been volunteering and working professionally in different organizations and doing activism in different areas. How did I come up with that idea? Actually, I'm gonna start with the sentence I started with. I started the book. I'm not a rap music fan. I've never been one. But in 2019, I met a person. And this person was a male person, of course, who was a rap music fan, very enthusiastic rap music fan. And when he noticed that I'm a feminist, he was like, "Oh, yeah, you would never like rap music, and many things will go wrong because you're a feminist." I was really shocked. I had no idea about rap music, but how could it be a music genre against women? Like, it could be like, how could it be misogynist? How could it be against feminism? How could it be against women? And I think this perspective, this saying, aroused some disappointment in me and sadness and basically anger. And we know from feminist and queer teaching that emotions are important. And my emotions led me to do more research on this topic. And I definitely wanted to prove that there is feminist rappers because I was sure about that. How could it be possible? And however, if you make a simple Google search, you come across with the lists of best rappers. For example, there are some lists on the internet, the 10 best rappers, 100 best rappers, etc. But there are no women on those lists, or maybe 1 or 2, maybe. But they're all American rappers. And I know that rap music is coming from 70s New York ghettos, from Black culture. But it spread all over the world and changed a lot over time. And I wanted to check the ones outside of this American bubble. And since rap music and hip hop culture is very popular in Germany, and I live in Germany, so I started with Germany to extend my research. And it was the moment I came across with Dr. Reyhan Shahin, aka Dr. Betray. And it was mind blowing for me. Even today, when I watch her work, I get the fangirl moment, honestly. And this moved it one step further and made me curious about Muslim female rappers. By the way, I use Muslim as a general term, also in my book. The ones which were born in Muslim family, like me, or those who define themselves as religious Muslims, but in general, those who reflect this fact in their music. Somehow, I don't talk on behalf of them. And after Dr. Betray, I came across with Mona Haidar, Sonita, and I had proven my hypothesis was correct over female Muslim rappers. They were feminist rappers. There were also female Muslim rappers. And I knew one day I want to say more about this topic.
What I find really interesting in that is that you said, you mentioned feminism now. I appreciate this is a whole episode in itself, and we'll get into that in a different episode. But it's interesting how you mentioned that those female rappers you mentioned before are all American, but they're also like not from the Muslim context. And it's interesting how when you found Muslim women with like from your worlds, you know, from the Middle East, for example, it really, really resonated with you. And I think that's because of the fact that feminism has become a label, but it's become a label that's associated with the West, and it's a very dominative narrative in that part of the world. And whenever you come across the minority perspective, whether it's like Muslim women rappers, which is so minority, it sparks something in you. So how did the way you see or feel feminism as that Turkish woman born in a world, but not religious, how did that impact the way you see and went after specifically Muslim female rappers?
Yeah, I think I was raised as a Muslim, but I'm coming from a relatively secular family, and I define myself as an atheist. When I was in Turkey, I think my activism, like feminist activism, my feminist perspective was more against the oppressive or patriarchal understanding of Islam. My fight was on that side. But then when I came to Germany, I noticed that although I was kind of like an atheist and then always promoting that kind of ideas and then always fighting against the patriarchal and oppressive understanding of Islam, and I'm still doing that. But when I came to Germany, I kind of made peace also my identity, because being a Muslim is a part of my identity. I was raised in a Muslim majority country, so I cannot deny that, and there is nothing wrong with that. And also, since I'm coming from a Muslim country and it's a part of my identity, some people just give you that duty that you have to explain. Oh, the topic about headscarf, the headscarf is a woman liberator's magnet. It's a very important topic for the white feminists. I don't know why. Every time they were giving me that kind of duty, and also the Islamophobia, what I faced with during my time here in Germany, it made me to start fighting in both sides, basically, against the oppressive understanding of Islam and also against the Islamophobia. And during that time, I think since 2009, maybe I can say, I don't know when I noticed that I was a feminist, but since the beginning, my feminism also has changed, because I learned a lot, and I have been still learning because of my experiences, because of encountering, I don't know, and I noticed that if it's not intersectional, it's not feminism. And it's broader than what the white feminism trying to show the world. And also my fight also is against the women liberators. It's about showing that women, especially Muslim women, they're not the homogeneous group that we need to liberate. They need to be liberated. Yeah, very briefly, that is my perspective, feminist perspective.
So looking about writing the book itself and that process, did you already have a network, or I say network, even like one or two Muslim women rappers that you knew about, or did you only find them when you decided that you wanted to, like this was your topic, and this is something you wanted to explore and write about? Did you find them along the way then?
I think it's a funny story because in 2020, I used to work as a district manager, was responsible for migration and women projects. But I was having an existential crisis back then. I was done with my second master's and I didn't know to which way I should go. And there was some part was missing. And I knew that I want to combine my research abilities, my studies with my activism, but I didn't know how. And it was the beginning of just before the pandemics. And I saw in Avid's platform, Bloom's open call about they were looking for an intern. And then I made a research about, okay, what is Bloom? It fits because they're looking for someone who speaks Turkish or Urdu. Maybe I can just sneak in and start volunteering again. I can do something. And then I just sent an email to say that I'm not looking for an internship because I'm already working, but maybe I can do something. And Homa Hutfar, amazing Homa Hutfar, reached me and said, okay, we already found an intern, but we can talk about what you want to do, maybe some cooperations, maybe you start working with us. And then this is how it happened actually. And then Homa explained me more about Bloom and its working, her working areas. And she told me, okay, just create your project ideas. And I came up with two different ideas. One was the more traditional one about the Muslim majority, the women being active in the district where I worked. Back then, where I used to work. And the second one was the rap music because it was always in my mind, and I knew that I'm going to do something about that. And then I prepared two project ideas. But Homa loved the idea about rap music. She was like, "Yeah, this is what we need." And then I started digging in more, making research, and I thought we never talked about it actually, and I thought I'm writing a research paper for the website, and I sent the first draft to Homa, and then she was like, okay, you're gonna need a book cover, you need to find someone to design the book cover. I'm like, which book? She was like, you're writing a book. And that was the moment when I noticed that I'm writing a book. And then I extended my research, and unfortunately there is not many things written on this topic. This is the saddest part. Of course you find Tricia Rose, John Morgan, but their work are mainly about Black culture and misogyny in hip-hop world based on Black culture and Black women, which is super important, but my way was kind of going to the other side or other way. And I found Angela Williams. She's amazing. She also participated the book launch. Her work about the women rap representation in the Middle East and also North Africa region, it inspired me a lot. And basically checking every forums, websites, Instagram page, because you really need to dig in. And I googled country names together with female rappers, female Muslim rappers, and but watching a lot of videos, reading a lot. It took me a year. This process took me a year, an intensive year, but thanks to the pandemics, and finalized the book. And it's a collaborative product, I can say. And last year we published the book with İpek Şahilis design. Yeah, this is the story of the process.
Honestly, it's such a funny story, and I'm not surprised because Homa is someone else. She'll take your idea and times it by 10. And
Yeah,
that's just
exactly.
that's just part of her brilliance. But we should say that Mahud Fur is actually one of the directors at Walloon. And yeah, we love her very much. So part of your book title is Shatter with Words.
Mm-hmm.
So I can only imagine what it takes for a woman within a Muslim context to publish aspects of her story through rap. I mean, that in itself is shattering enough for me,
Mm-hmm.
but you put this book together in a year. So I'm interested in, what did you find especially shattering?
Mm-hmm. Hip hop world is a very misogynist world. It's very misogynist. I mean, rap music not itself, but it turned to an industry, and producing, making something, rapping, existing in this world is already a activist attempt, I think. It was already shattering for me. But the words, for example, Mona Haidar, she writes amazing lyrics to decolonize Western beauty standards, Western understanding of women's rights, white feminism. Dr. Betray raps about female sexuality. This is something unfortunately, but also fortunately unique. Like for example, in her song Aufklärung, I think we can translate it like an education, enlightenment. She explains men how to have sex properly, how to do it properly, and it's amazing, I think. And then she also has to fight against those who make comments, oh, you're influencing our teenagers, our children in a bad way. And it's very interesting because those teenagers, those kids are not badly influenced by the male rappers who talk about raping a woman, talk about bitches, talk about woman body in a very bad way, the drugs and alcohol and gambling. It's not a problem, obviously, in the society, but a woman, when when a woman takes that power in her hands and say, okay, I want to have sex like this, and you have to do this. This is a problem. And on the other hand, Sonuta says in one of her songs, let me whisper to you my words so no one hears that I speak of the selling of girls, because the society doesn't want to see that, doesn't want to hear that. I think it's very powerful. Sonita is an Afghan rapper whose family wanted to sell her exchange of money, but then her way crosses with a documentary maker, and then they make a video, a rap music video, and Sonita moves to US. She was very young back then when she moved to US, and actually not only the lyrics, but also the interviews and the statements really shattered me. And Sonita's example is a very unique one. She participated in many events after she moved to US, and in one of the events in 2016, I think it was Woman of the World, I'm not sure, but you can find a video on YouTube, and then you can find the BBC reporter KTK's drama pumped questions like, oh, Sonita, how did you feel about when your mother tried to sell you, etc. But Sonita gives very solid answers. Like she says, it doesn't mean that my mother doesn't like me. It doesn't mean something dramatic to me. It is how the society works, and this is what we have to fight against. And it was very powerful for me to hear those words, and all those rappers, female rappers, the lyrics, the styles they use, and the topics they talk about are quite diverse, which is not a surprise because women, especially Muslim women, are not a homogeneous group.
Yes.
That's the unfortunately many female women liberators or white feminists or men would like to see. It's a very heterogeneous group. And also, it's very inspiring that they also use the tools of hip hop culture, because hip hop culture is colorful. It's about poetry, rhythm, about performance, about theater, costumes, and they use all of them in a different way, of course. And it also shatters me. So.
Wow. I mean, you've listed so many inspirations to yourself. You wrote this book, but I want to flip this on the other sort of side and ask you rather, how is your book being received by those female Muslim rappers that you've written about, or if there's anybody that's reached out to you? And what do you want to say to them through this book and other projects? Because you will be an inspiration to them too. It works both ways.
Thank you. Jaco from Indonesia, we talk via emails, and Genji from Senegal. It's an amazing women's group. There's MCs, directors, rappers in that group. They're doing an amazing job in Senegal. Dr. Betray also shared on social media, reshared my stories, and I had another fangirl moment. But I think one of the most important examples is Amani Yahya in our communication. When I reached her, I was a bit shy actually to reach the rappers, because I was also like having those fangirls moments, and I was sure they are super busy, etc. They're celebrities. But Amani Yahya gave super nice reaction, and she said something important. I think she said, "Wow, my name is in a book." So I never thought about that like that. It's not, and I think it shows the importance that as researchers, it can be our responsibility maybe to call their names more, like give more space about these kind of topics, and call the names. And because the mainstream hip hop world, the mainstream media doesn't give that much space, doesn't give any space to those women, and they're doing an amazing job. And since the very beginning, since we first met, I mean, EMAT, I think we call it lately EMAT, with Amani Yahya. Since the beginning, she's one of the biggest supporters of the book on social media, on everywhere, and she was also the guest speaker in the book launch. She gives a lot of support, and yeah, this is how it was received.
That must have been so encouraging for you. I could talk to you all day about this. It's just
Me too, I think.
But before we close, for anyone interested in reading your book, where can they find it? And also, how can they follow you so they can kind of keep on top of the work you're doing and future projects you've got lined up?
The book is online. Just download it, share it. It's for us. It's for all of us. It's on the Bloom's website. I guess we can also add the link. And in maybe today, tomorrow, in the next week, the book is going to be online on Kindle also. You can download the Kindle version. You can reach me via email. I'm also active on LinkedIn. These are the channels you can reach me. And also Instagram, I'm not that active, but you can, if you want to learn more about that, if you have questions, if you want to make some contributions, etc., you can always send me a DM.
Hilal, it's been an absolute joy talking to you. This is only the beginning. We at Walloon have so much to talk about, including unpacking what feminism means to women like us. You mentioned that already briefly, so it doesn't look like the mainstream at all. So, Hilal, cannot wait for our next episode.
Let's get ready for the next one, and see you in the next one.
See you in the next one. All right, stay tuned.